This is the Module 2 review. You can find this in your book or online. Let's look at the first problem. We're going to select the term from the drop-down list to correctly complete the sentence. So you got hints if you need them. And these are just vocabulary words. So the smallest number other than 0 that is a multiple of 2 or more giving numbers is B. We have rational number, least common denominator, least common multiple, or greatest factor. This is least common multiple. Next, select the term from the drop-down list to correctly complete the sentence. A blank can be written in a form A over B, where A and B are integers and B does not equal. Is a rational number. Next, compare and order fractions. The fraction can be written with a common denominator. Next, the blank is the greatest number by which 2 or more given numbers can be divided by evenly. Greatest common factor. Okay, that was all the vocabulary. Now it's on to the math part. So we're on question number 5. A thermometer in Grand Forks, North Dakota reads negative 4.5 degrees Fahrenheit in January. The temperature on the same day in February has the same absolute value as the temperature in January, but is not the same temperature. What is the temperature in February? So if we look at the hints, the absolute value is the distance from 0 on the number line, and the absolute value of a non-negative number is a positive. So it's not negative 4.5, it'll be positive 4.5. Let's check it. Awesome. Number 6. What is the least common denominator for the fractions 3/4, negative 2/5, and 3 over 2? So what it's telling us to do on the hints is find the least number that all 3 denominators will evenly divide into. And you can start by multiplying the least denominator by the greatest. So let's pull up our work page and delete what I got on here. And our fractions are Our fractions are 3/4, negative 2/5, and 3 over 2. I'm going to write down my 5s. I have 5, 10, 15, this is a 10, and a 20. 4 cannot go into 5. It cannot go into 10. It cannot go into 15, but it can go into 20. 2 can also go into 20. So our common denominator is going to be 20. And there's multiple different ways that you could come up with that. That's just only one of them. Use the number line to match the statements to the points on the number line. We're going to drag the answers. Our hint, absolute value is the distance from 0 on a number line, and the absolute value of any number is either positive or 0. Okay, the absolute value is 1/8. So we're counting by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So T is at 1/8. And that would be negative 1/8. The absolute value is 3/4. So we're going to, if I multiply this by 2 to make the 4 and 8, and I'm going to show you that on our work page so you can see that. Since we're counting by 8s, I need to change this denominator into an 8. So that would be 6/8. And so the opposite is negative 6/8. So 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8. So that one is R. We have 3/8. So 1, 2, 3. That is S. And our last one then has to be U. Number 8. Which inequality is correct? Make both sides of the inequality either fractions or decimals, and divide to convert a fraction to a decimal. Those are our 2 things that we got. So let's see if we can eliminate any off the top of our heads. This one right here can be gone because it's saying that a negative number is greater than a positive number. So that one can go away. Let's take a look at the first one then. So I have 4/5 and 0.7. The 7 is in the tenths place, so we're going to rewrite that as 7/10. I need the same denominator now, so I'm going to multiply my 5 by 2, and we get 8/10. It is saying 8/10 is greater than 7/10, and that is correct. I like it when it's the first one. 9. Enter the correct symbol. So hint, the absolute value of a number is the distance from 0 on the number line, and the absolute value of any number is either positive or 0. So let's take a look at this one. We have -1 and 8/10, and the absolute value -1.8. So before we can solve it, we have to solve this. The absolute value of -1.8 is 1.8. And I'm just going to bring this one straight down here. Okay, let's look at the signs. This is negative. No negative here. So -1 and 8/10 is a less than. Number 10. We're going to write an inequality, just like we did in the last one. An inequality is a less than or greater than. So the absolute value of 0.4 is 0.4. The absolute value of -4/5 is 4/5. So I'm going to write this guy right here as a fraction. 0.4, the 4 is in the tenth spot, so we're going to write it 4/10. I can change this 5 into a 10 over here by multiplying by 2 because we need a common denominator. We get 8/10. 4/10 is less than 8/10. So we're going to type in the less than sign here. Next, number 11. We have -6/5 is what to -1.3. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this -6/5 into a mixed number. 5 goes into 6 one time. There's 1 left over. And then I'm going to change this decimal into a fraction. My whole number goes down. The 3 is in the tenth spot, so -1 and 3/10. Now I have to look for a common denominator. This 5 can be changed into a 10 by multiplying by 2. The 1 comes down. 1 times 2 is 2. 5 times 2 is 10. I'm just going to drop this down so it's right next to it. So all we're looking at is the 2 and the 3 now. So -1 and 2/10 is closer to 0, so it's going to be greater than. Number 12. This city in India has an elevation of -2.14 meters. The area near the mouth of Dniester River in Moldova has an elevation that is the opposite. So the elevation opposite, instead of -2.4, it is positive 2. Instead of -2.14, it's positive 2.14. If you needed to look at the hint, it is right there. The opposite numbers have the same digits. The opposite numbers have different signs. Number 13. Which expression shows the sum of 54 and 36? As a product of the GCF and a sum of two numbers with no common factor. So the numbers inside the parentheses should have no common factors, and the number outside the parentheses should be the GCF of the two numbers. So we have to ask ourselves, what numbers can go into both 54 and 36? Or you can do tic-tac-toe, which is what I am going to do. So we have 54 and 36. Hopefully yours looks a little nicer than mine. Okay, number that can go into both of these is 9. 9 times 6 is 54, and 9 times 4 is 36. I can see that with the 6 and the 4, I can still bring out a 2, because 2 times 3 is 6, and 2 times 2 is 4. 3 and the 2, nothing. So I'm going to circle my 9 and my 2 and multiply it together. 9 times 2 is 18. And then it tells me my numbers right here I need to add on the inside. So I have 3 plus 2, which is the same thing as 2 plus 3. So let's take a look at that one. And that is the right one. Our last one, finches are small songbirds. The table lists the length of 4 finches, each of different species. So we have the house finch at 5 5/8, the indigo bunting at 4.9, the crimson finch at 5 1/10, and the purple finch at 5.9. We're going to do shortest to longest. Let's look at our hints, convert all decimals to fractions, and rewrite fractions with a common denominator. Before we start doing anything, let's look at our whole numbers. You will see that 1 is 4. All the rest are 5. 4 is smaller than 5, so I know the indigo bunting at 4.9 is the smallest. Now let's go ahead and look at the ones that have 5 in them. So I have 5 5/8, 5 1/10, and 5.9. And we're going to go ahead and change this 5.9, the 9's in the 10th spot, to 5 9/10. Okay, let's find a common denominator. So I have 10, 20, 30, 40. 8 cannot go into 10, cannot go into 20, it cannot go into 30, but it can go into 45 times. So I have 5 and 25 over 40. 10 times 4 will give us 40. So it would be 5 and 4/40. And again, we're going to multiply by 4. And we get 5 and 36 over 40. So let's see which one comes after the indigo bunting. Remember, we knew this one was the smallest because it was a 4. So our denominators are all the same. So let's look at our top numbers. We have 25, 4, and 36. That means 4 is the smallest of those. So the 4 is going to be going next. So that's 5 1/10. Then we have 25, which is 5 5/8. Then we're going to finish up with 5.59. Let's check it to make sure we're good to go. And we are good. That was the last question. Make sure you are studying your problems.